my name is Martina Detherow, and today's day is April 10th, 2025, and my presentation is on how neo-Nazi groups undermine Holocaust memory. The agenda for today is we're going to start off with some background on the Holocaust, leading into our question, next the stimulus connections, then following the historical context, next the problem, and lastly the solutions and limitations. As time goes by, there are fewer survivors to share their stories. However, Holocaust denial is on the rise, particularly among groups in neo-Nazi groups. These groups twist history for political reasons, which can lead to the distortion of history and spread harmful ideologies. This is why it's crucial to understand how historical memory is shaped, as it influences national identity and can promote harmful ideologies. Which brings us to the question, does the persistent denial of the Holocaust by neo-Nazi groups undermine the testimony of survivors and distort historical memory? To begin, the first stimulus connection that I made today was to False Nostalgia, written by Johan Norberg in 2022. It explains how people often romanticize the past, believing that it was better than today. He reveals that this idealized view of history is often misleading. Just as false nostalgia manipulates public perception, Holocaust denial by neo-Nazi groups erases trauma and distorts history, thereby perpetuating harmful narratives and about race and identity. The second stimulus connection that I was able to make was to Selenidad, written by Deborah Paredes in 2009, which highlights how marginalized communities utilize memory to resist historical distortion. While it focuses on Selena's cultural impacts, it connects to the Holocaust denial by showing how preserving memory through cultural icons or recurring traumatic events helps counter efforts to erase or rewrite history. To provide further context, according to an article published by Britannica, Michael Berenbaum defines the Holocaust as the systemic state-sponsored killing of 6 million Jewish men, women, and children, and other communities and others by Nazi Germany and collaborators during World War II. This genocide was fueled by the Nazi pursuit of creating a pure race, which led to the murder, torture, and dehumanization of millions of Jews and other marginalized communities. Additionally, they also did book burnings in an attempt to erase Jewish culture or religion. A study done by Johns Hopkins University in 2016 explains that the Nazis wanted to retell the Jews' story by deleting their memory from their own history and replacing it with a new story. Today, neo-Nazi groups spread hate through violence and false information through social media and rallies. For example, a journal published in ADL in 2023, it reveals that in 2010, many Holocaust deniers and anti-Semites utilized social media platforms such as Facebook to spread harmful ideologies, hateful messages, and false information about the Holocaust. By spreading false information and persistently denying the Holocaust, it distorts historical memory, undermines the testimonies of survivors, and pushes false narratives on Jewish people and marginalized communities. To combat the spread of Holocaust denial and hateful ideologies, my solution is to improve Holocaust education through the media and through the schools. By providing accurate historical information and raising awareness about the dangers of misinformation, it can help future generations recognize extremism and resist harmful ideologies and narratives. However, there are some limitations to this approach. Some people may reject learning or hold strong beliefs due to their past deep-rooted perspectives on the Holocaust. Additionally, not everyone has access to quality education, particularly those in areas where resources are limited. Given these challenges, some alternative solutions are the promotion of survivors' testimonies and the limitation of hate speech through the media by using regulations. Personal stories like Anne Frank and the Holocaust Museum, located in Washington, D.C., provides powerful first-hand accounts of the Holocaust. Additionally, by utilizing social media platforms to restrict harmful hate speech, we can create a more informed society where the past isn't distorted or forgotten. In conclusion, with the solution of improved education through social media and schools, it can teach accurate information and resist harmful narratives.
Thank you very much. All right, a couple of questions. What additional questions emerged from your research, and why are these questions important? So your research was all about how neo-Nazis are promoting a narrative, and you're raising the question of its impact. What additional questions emerged from your research, and why are these questions also important?
Okay, so some additional questions that emerge from my research are how specifically I focused on more of like the marginalized communities, but I think it would be important to research on how different communities are impacted by the spread of false information. For example, I talked about education as improved education for my solution, but specifically one of the limitations to that is the education gap. So how are people with improved education or compared to lower income people being affected by the spread of false information through social media or lack of information?
And explain the level of certainty you have about your own conclusion or your solution or recommendation. How certain are you that this solution is going to take effect?
Okay, so I am fairly certain that my solution would take effect because, for one, education is a very important thing in our society today, and additionally for my other solution, which was regulating social media, creating social media regulations to regulate hate speech. It was also done on Facebook. I mentioned how in 2010 there has been like a mountain of hate speech done by neo-Nazis or anti-Semites. But later on, I think in 2019, Facebook actually implemented some regulations which helped prevent some of the hate speech. However, it wasn't completely regulated. So I believe that if we added more regulations, that it would help lower hate speech across all social media platforms.
Thank you very much. Hit your buttons, record, record, record.